I'm Mitchell from Australia, and being from Australia, I get called the dumbest of the dumb flat earthers. This is because the Globers say that southern star rotation debunks the flat earth. But this argument is going to be your downfall, Globe believers.
Hi Mitchell, don't worry. I am not going to call you dumb because you are from Australia and believe that the earth is flat. I'm going to call you dumb because of what is about to follow in your presentation. Before we look at that though, I would like to take a moment to thank my awesome patrons. You guys rock. And of course my newest patron, Cetic Astronomy. If you haven't subscribed, then please do and tickle that bell. YouTube appears to have reset a lot of users' notification settings, so you may want to check that one if you have subscribed. I don't think that my channel has been affected much. I have noticed a drop in traffic, but this is probably due to less frequent content over the past few months, and of course, not as much flat earth, which tends to drive the numbers down. I thought that lockdown would give me more time to do stuff, but actually the opposite happened. I should get back to a normal schedule soon enough though. But anyway, let's look at Mitchell's presentation.
Because on your model, stars aren't actually rotating, are they? It's the Earth rotating underneath the stars. And you asserting that you're on that rotating Earth, looking up at the stars, making the stars appear to be rotating, not actually rotating.
Well, this just has to do with reference frames. If you are at rest with respect to a point on the Earth, then the stars appear to rotate. If you are at rest with respect to a star, then the Earth appears to be rotating. But I know that you are going to talk about reference frames in a minute, because that's the whole reason why I picked this video up.
Just like this demonstration of a drone leaving the rotating reference frame of a roundabout. From the rotating reference frame, it appears that the drone is deviating. But as we can see, the drone just goes up and hovers. It doesn't go anywhere. This is an apparent deviation. And this is what Globers will tell you is happening when you see stars rotating in the sky.
Okay, what's the problem here? Apart from your obvious misunderstanding with regards to reference frames.
But what this also demonstrates is what we observe from the inertial reference frame while looking at another thing in the inertial reference frame. This drone is in the inertial reference frame, and the camera looking at the drone and the roundabout is also in the inertial reference frame. So as you can see, when viewing something else in the inertial reference frame from the inertial reference frame, the drone is no longer appearing to move. So let's take another look at the stars, and this time we're going to leave the asserted rotating reference frame of the Earth and enter the inertial reference frame above the Earth.
Right, it should be very apparent that Mitchell does not understand what a reference frame actually is. He talks about them as if they are physical locations, but they're not. A reference frame is just a mathematical construct. It is a convenience that helps when solving problems, and you need to be aware of your reference frame when performing calculations. A reference frame is usually set in reference to something in the problem. For example, you can set a reference frame such that it is at rest with respect to an object, or the center of mass of a system, or the center of momentum. Our choice of reference frame is almost completely arbitrary. For example, we can take a pair of objects colliding, and when we choose the center of momentum frame, which is the frame where the total momentum adds up to 0, we see this. But we can also choose a reference frame which is at rest with respect to, say, the yellow object. We could also use a reference frame which is just randomly rotating. It doesn't matter, there is no incorrect reference frame as long as the maths accounts for the motion of the reference frame. However, there is the most useful reference frame. The one at rest with respect to the yellow object, for example, involves a bit more thinking and calculations than the one which is at rest with the center of momentum frame. The rotating reference frame is just a mess. Now, it is still not incorrect, it is just unnecessarily complicated. The best reference frame is usually the one which involves the fewest or the simplest calculations. There is, of course, the inertial reference frame, and this is a reference frame in which all the laws of physics hold without the need for additional fictitious or inertial forces. And this means that any inertial reference frame is one which is at a constant velocity. So in short, the issue is that this image is incorrect. The rotating roundabout is not a rotating reference frame. It is not in a different reference frame than the camera that observed this image. Treating the person who's holding the camera or the camera itself as stationary means that you are treating the whole universe from a reference frame in which the cameraman is stationary. Alternatively, if you were to choose a reference frame at rest with respect to the camera on the roundabout, then the whole universe is in a reference frame which is at rest with respect to that camera. You cannot say that one object is in one reference frame and another object is in a different reference frame. That is simply not how it works. When you define a reference frame, all objects are in that reference frame. You also cannot change your reference frame in the middle of your problem, because although I said that in an inertial reference frame the laws of physics must hold, the laws of physics do not have to hold across a reference frame transformation. The momentum or energy of a system can differ depending on your choice of reference frame.
These stars are already in the inertial reference frame. So when we view from the drone entering the inertial reference frame, the stars should not move. Just like when we see the drone in the inertial reference frame, it does not move. But we still see the stars moving. Have you realized the implication of this, Globers?
Yep, I know exactly what your statement means. It means that you don't understand how this all works and you're just using the phrase inertial reference frame because you think it makes you sound credible, even though you haven't got a fucking clue what it means. You cannot leave or enter a reference frame.
The stars are the things that are actually moving, not the Earth underneath it. If it were actually Earth rotation making the stars appear to rotate, then when we leave the spinning Earth, we wouldn't see this. The stars should stay still, but yet they keep spinning.
Well, that depends on what you do, really. If you take a reference frame which is at rest with respect to a point on the Earth, then the stars will appear to rotate, and the Earth does not. If you choose a reference frame at rest with respect to the stars, then the Earth appears to be rotating and the stars appear to be stationary. If you choose a reference frame which is at rest with respect to something completely different, say the moon's surface or the ISS, then both the stars and the Earth will appear to be rotating.
But this also applies to all celestial bodies, because you ballers assert that the sun sets and rises, also due to Earth rotation. So let's view the sun from the inertial reference frame. The drone has left the rotating reference frame of the Earth, but yet the sun still appears to set.
But the quadcopter hasn't left any reference frame. If you were to allow to hover in place, then it would still be at rest with respect to any point on the surface of the Earth. As we know the Earth to be rotating and the quadcopter is at rest with respect to the Earth's surface, this means that if we choose a reference frame which is at rest with respect to the quadcopter, the reference frame is also at rest with respect to the surface of the Earth. Our choice of reference frame here is then one that is rotating. Now you really get the point, but I just wanted to get to the end of the video so we could see this.
We go up again, and the sun sets again. This is not caused by Earth rotation, because the Earth is not actually rotating. It is the sun that is moving. And this observation absolutely demolishes Earth rotation.
Enough said.